Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today we are tackling two terms that are, well, pretty much thrown around constantly: the greenhouse effect and global warming. Now, despite how often we hear them in the news or in casual conversation, there's actually a massive amount of confusion out there about what they really mean. People use these phrases interchangeably all the time, right? But as we're going to see today, understanding the distinct difference between them is absolutely crucial to grasping how our planet's climate actually works.
So let's just address the elephant in the room right away. Are they exactly the same thing? Spoiler alert, no way, they absolutely are not. In fact, confusing the two can completely warp how we view the natural world versus how we view human impacts on the environment. So let's dive into this and clear up the confusion once and for all. Okay, here's our roadmap for today. 1. The essential greenhouse effect. 2. The global warming crisis. 3. Comparing the two concepts. And 4. Ways to take action. Let's get into it.
Part 1, the essential greenhouse effect, or as I like to think of it, nature's life-saving blanket. You know, the word greenhouse kind of gets a bad rap these days, but it really shouldn't. The greenhouse effect is actually a completely 100% natural process. Basically, it happens when certain gases in the Earth's atmosphere trap heat from the sun. And here is the kicker. It does this to keep the planet warm enough to support life. Without this natural process, Earth would literally be a frozen, uninhabitable rock floating in space. It's our planet's baseline. It's our natural thermostat. So, who is the specific cast of characters making this magic happen? We've got carbon dioxide, methane, water vapor, and nitrous oxide. Now, when you hear about these gases, especially CO2 and methane, they're almost always painted as the villains, right? But actually, in their natural, balanced amounts, these gases are the very things weaving that life-saving atmospheric blanket we were just talking about.
Let's actually break down exactly how this natural mechanism works, step by step. It's kind of like a giant, beautiful puzzle. First, sunlight travels all the way through space, reaches the Earth's surface, and warms it up. Simple enough? Second, the Earth doesn't just hold on to all that energy. It actually releases it back outward as infrared radiation, which, by the way, is just a fancy scientific term for heat. Third, instead of all that heat escaping directly back into the freezing void of space, our greenhouse gases step up. They absorb some of that outward-bound heat and re-emit it. And finally, step 4, this trapped heat keeps the temperature perfectly suitable for all living organisms. It really is a brilliantly balanced system.
Moving on to part 2, the global warming crisis. This is where the balance shifts.
So what happens when that perfectly tuned natural system gets thrown entirely out of whack? Well, you get global warming. This is the long-term increase in the Earth's average temperature. But the absolutely crucial distinction here is that it's caused mainly by an enhanced greenhouse effect due to human activities. Think about that natural blanket we just learned about. Global warming is basically us adding layers and layers of heavy down comforters on top of it, trapping way, way too much heat. How exactly are we piling on those heavy layers? Well, human actions are driving this in a few major ways. We're burning massive amounts of fossil fuels, so coal, oil, and natural gas. We're also cutting down our forests through widespread deforestation, which is a double whammy because it removes the very trees that naturally absorb carbon out of the air. Then we have heavy industrial emissions pumping gases directly into the sky. And something people actually overlook a lot, our agriculture and livestock are huge contributors, specifically by releasing massive amounts of methane. When you trap all that excess heat, the physical changes to our planet are, well, they're profound. The primary effects start simply with rising global temperatures, but that extra heat melts the ice. We're currently seeing the melting of glaciers and polar ice caps at truly alarming rates. And all that melted ice, it doesn't just disappear. It flows right into our oceans, resulting in sea level rise that severely threatens coastal communities all over the world. And the domino effect doesn't just stop with ice and water, it cascades into these severe secondary effects. That trapped heat literally supercharges our weather systems. We're talking more frequent and intense heat waves, brutal droughts, devastating floods, and severe storms. This incredibly rapid shift in the environment causes a tragic loss of biodiversity because plant and animal species are just struggling to adapt fast enough. And ironically, the very agriculture that contributes to the problem is heavily impacted by these extreme weather patterns, which threatens our global food supply. All right, part 3, comparing the two concepts. Let's do a quick side-by-side analysis. When we stack them up right next to each other, the differences become stark. Let's look at the process. The greenhouse effect is a totally natural baseline process that traps heat. Global warming, on the other hand, is the increase in temperature from the enhanced effect. How about the impact? The greenhouse effect is literally essential for maintaining life on Earth. Global warming is harmful because it's excessive. And finally, the cause. The greenhouse effect occurs completely naturally. Global warming is driven mainly by human activities and our increased emissions. To really hammer this home, here is a fantastic summary straight from our source material. The greenhouse effect is a natural phenomenon that keeps the Earth warm, while global warming is the excessive rise in Earth's temperature caused by increased greenhouse gases from human activities. Seriously, if you take away just one single thing from this explainer today, let it be the clear distinction in that quote.
And finally, part 4, ways to take action. Let's talk about restoring the balance. Look, it is incredibly easy to hear all this, look at the effects of global warming, and feel completely overwhelmed. I totally get it. But knowledge is power. Understanding the mechanics of the problem means we also know exactly how to fix it. On a macro level, meaning the big societal global shifts, the solutions directly target the causes we just discussed. We desperately need to transition to renewable energy sources like solar and wind instead of burning things. We need to plant more trees and actively prevent deforestation so nature can do its job and pull carbon out of the air. And above all, we just have to drastically reduce our reliance on fossil fuels.
But the crucial point is, what can you actually do right now? Because macro-level solutions, they actually start with individual daily lifestyle choices. You can save electricity in your home and really prioritize energy efficiency. You can aggressively recycle and reduce your overall waste to lower industrial demands. And you can rethink your daily commute, using public transport, cycling, or just walking whenever it's possible to cut down on personal emissions. Every single one of these choices helps peel back a little bit of that extra suffocating layer from the atmospheric blanket. Wow, okay, we've covered a lot of ground today. We learned that the natural greenhouse effect is what gave us a livable, warm, beautiful planet in the first place, but that human-driven global warming is currently threatening it by pushing that delicate system into overdrive. Now that you know the real difference between the two, and you know the actionable solutions, I want to leave you with this question. What steps will you take today to help restore the balance? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.